It's quite clear that international law has no authority to bind nations, and that international law is only binding upon nations and those within each nation once the Parliament has passed domestic legislation implementing the international law. This begs the question of what happens in the event that the Parliament passes legislation which is contrary to international law. Can that legislation or decisions made under that legislation be challenged and declared to be invalid? The Moray Firth is a large feature, not quite a bay, but something like a triangular opening towards the north of Scotland where Scotland meets the North Sea. Because it's so large, there are parts of the Moray Firth which are well outside what was then the 3-mile territorial limit for sovereign waters. In 1889, the Scottish Fishery Board made it an offence for anyone to trawl for fish in the Moray Firth. Mortensen was the Danish captain of a Norwegian vessel which was trawling in the prohibited area but outside the 3-mile limit. The vessel was nevertheless arrested and the captain charged. The charge was challenged on the basis that it was contrary to international law, and the challenge came before the Scottish Court of Justiciary. The court found that because international law is simply a method by which countries decide how they will deal with one another, it was not for the court to decide whether a law was proper or improper under the rules of international law. The court would assume that the law was proper, and if there was a dispute about that, the dispute would have to be resolved between national governments. The Lord Justice, Lord Dunedin, said, "It is a trite observation that there is no such thing as a standard of international law extraneous to the domestic law of a kingdom to which appeal may be made. International law, so far as this court is concerned, is the body of doctrine regarding the international rights and duties of states which has been adopted and made part of the law of Scotland." As a result, the view of the court was that it would implement Scottish law without even considering whether that law was consistent with Scotland's international law obligations. Eventually, the issue was resolved exactly the way the court suggested, by negotiations between the governments of Norway and Scotland.